Hello everybody, welcome to Sutherland Public Schools Positive Behaviour for Learning Parent Information slideshow. Here in this session, I'll be explaining a little bit about our Positive Behaviour for Learning program at Sutherland Public School. Our school believes in explicitly teaching positive behaviour to support learning at school and at home. We have agreed 3 expectations that support our learning behaviours at our school, and these were selected through consultation with our students, our staff, and our wider community. Our expectations are be smart, be safe, and be kind, and we have 3 characters that support the visual understanding of each of those expectations. Our vision at Sutherland Public School is to actively engage our students in learning while developing and improving well-being to create lifelong successful learners. And here we have a little picture that encompasses that learning is always at the centre of what we do, that we work together, that we're collaborative, that everybody is different, and that we're in partnership between home and school. So hopefully this will help support your understanding of how we manage behaviour at Sutherland Public School and ways that you can build that in to be supportive in your household. Our PBL is known for short. Our expectations are chunked into different areas because what is expected for the children in a different location might be a little bit different. But the core themes of be smart, be safe, and be kind run through them all. This is an overview grid of all the expectations in each area. So if I was to follow through to the playground, we talk to the children in the playground about wearing a hat makes you smart because you're making a good choice, about making good choices, that's what's right or wrong, about putting our rubbish in our bins, and we talk a lot about it, caring for our environment. We talk about being safe in our playgrounds by staying in the inbound areas, not going into the car park, not going out of gates, not going in spaces you're not supposed to, like behind buildings. We walk under the walkways, so that's not running through our garden beds where possible, not balancing on the rocks as we walk around, not wandering in places we're not supposed to, but we follow the walkways. And very importantly, we're safe in the playground because we keep our hands and feet to ourselves. The ways we're kind in the playground is we take turns with our friends, we use nice words, and we include others. What you'll notice about the language here in our expectations is that we always try and frame it to be positive and the behaviour that we want to see. That way, when we're using our language as adults to the children, we're giving them the positive rather than don't hit or kick, which we will talk about when we unpack the learning. But the positive is keep your hands and feet to yourself, implying and stating therefore that you are not hitting and kicking or pushing each other. So just really careful about how the language is framed, and then we're able to reuse this language in our praise, in our reminders, and our conversations with the children. So you can see that there's different expectations for different areas. Obviously, what's expected in the playground is going to be different to what's expected in the learning space, to what's expected in the toilets, and so on. So they're broken down to explain it, and then we can have the language that goes in place. We can put consequences attached to different ones that are logical. And you might like to have a little think about setting up some expectations in your house. You could have one, for example, for when you're doing your homework or learning at home. You might have one for when you're playing games in the lounge room. Might be one for in the bedroom or whatever different areas in your house or problems that you might be facing. Here's an example of what, so we break all of them up into nice little posters around the school. Here's an example of what you might like to have at home. I've just titled it at home here, and it might be for at the moment we're doing remote learning because of COVID-19. So you might have, for example, look after your learning pack. That would be a smart choice. To follow the instructions, and you would be able to talk with your child about that's your instructions as a parent and also the instructions from your teacher that's being sent home with the work. And to be an active listener, that means they're listening to you, they're active, they know what the active listening means, and that's their 5 L's. They look at the person who is speaking, they listen with their ears, their lips are closed, their hands are in their laps and their legs are still all crossed, so that they're showing you they're listening by their body. So they might be appropriate for being smart. For being safe, they might set up a quiet work area so they're not hanging off the edge of a bed or rolling around on the floor or doing silly things, rocking on a chair. To be safe, particularly those who are working online in COVID-19, it might be to turn your camera or mic off until you're asked to turn it on. Outside of those times, it might be turning off notifications from games or different things so that you're not distracted. It might be to put all other things away and just complete the work you're doing or your homework. Also at the moment, linked to being on technology, that when you are taking photos or camera images or recording, that you're dressed appropriately. That's an important one for being safe at home. And then being kind. Help those who ask a question. So, for example, our 3 to 6 children often are posting questions on Teams and their teacher might not be there immediately to answer it. So they could help each other by answering the question if they know it. To help your parents at home, this is a difficult time at home, and perhaps something that they can do to be kind is to help out around the house. And really important to get some independence is to try to have a go by yourself before calling for mum or dad to come and help you. These might be appropriate to your family or they might not. Then created a blank one where you can put in your bedroom or when doing your homework at home or whatever it might be in the garden. Whatever you might be experiencing challenges with and want to set up some expectations for the children. We recommend that no more than 3 expectations for each area because really that's 9 expectations or rules. A lot to remember. They don't have to be 3. You might only have 1 for each one. You might have 2, you might have 3, you might have some, not 1 for every area, just some happening. It really depends on what the activity is and what is going on. What I will do is I will send this PowerPoint out through Schoolbag app and I'll attach a blank copy of this. Later, when I get a chance, I'll upload it onto the website. So in future, you'll be able to download this template from the website and you can create your own at home if you would like to, and they will link to our school system. We always reward children and ideally we work towards intrinsic rewards. So rewards where they feel pleasure from following the instruction or doing the right thing. But obviously children, as you know, sometimes are motivated by extrinsic motivation, which means we give them a little bit of a tangible reward. And what we talk about in education is fast and furious at the beginning. So you give lots out, you're really over the top praising, you're really building up the reward of following that expectation of doing the right behavior, and then you can wean off that where you don't have to reward so much, you don't have to remind, you don't have to thank the behavior because it becomes part of their behavior and generally something else flares up, so you might move on to the next thing. So at school we have little tokens like this that are be smart, safe and kind. We do give them out related to that expectation, but you might just have at home ones. Or you might just have a point system, a little tally sheet where they keep points if you wish, or you can just phrase your praise. So when you're giving your praise, it's really beneficial if your praise is specific. Yes, you can say, good girl, thank you, that's excellent, but it doesn't really tell them what's excellent. So they often don't know how to repeat that the next time. It's a bit like when you're giving them some negative praise or negative conversation where you might be saying, don't do that. Don't tell them exactly what it is that they're doing that's wrong. They won't know what part to not repeat again. So again, we always focus on the positive where possible. Thank you for being kind and sharing with your sister, because what you like is the fact that they have a kind behavior. It links back to the expectation, and what it was that they did was kind was share. Another example might be, I'm really proud of the way you packed up when I asked and you followed my instructions. You've given them instruction of packing up. Sometimes children will follow that and sometimes they won't. When they do, I'm really proud that you did that. You're attaching an emotion, a positive emotion to that, because you did what I asked when I asked it. And that's really important. Remember to hold my hand when we cross the road, or you might say thank you to hold my hand when we cross the road because we're being safe. So I'm linking the hand holding is the action with the being safe, with the expectation. Similarly, when you want them to not do something, you might have to teach these and unpack them. So remember, being kind at home is sharing our toys with my brother or sister. Being kind might be putting away the toys when you're asked to. Being safe might be putting them away. You need to decide what they'll go under. Being smart is not putting the Lego out on the floor when the little baby is around crawling. Whatever it is in your household that is appropriate. You may then want to build in some rewards. At school, we have 2 levels of rewards. So like I say, the little slips are a small individual rewards. They do then cash in their slips. When they've got 10, they're cashed in and they can trade them for something. So in your household, they might trade them for 10 minutes game time or 10 minutes on the computer or watching a TV show that they like or going outside and doing a preferred activity. We also then collect a lot of these in a whole school tube, and when that's full to a certain point, we all get a prize. So, for example, we might extend recess by 10 minutes once it gets to a certain level. So you might have a family prize that, once the children in your household collect 100 of them, then you have an outing or a special event, or you watch a movie with popcorn or whatever you decide it might be. If you're having difficulty getting children to do tasks at the moment, and that's really possible and often happens, and may happen with homework after COVID-19, what we tend to do a lot is do a non-preferred task followed by a preferred task. So we call it first and then. First, do your spelling page, and then you can have 10 minutes on the iPad. Next, do your maths page, and then you can have 15 minutes playing with the Lego. First, do your reading to me, and then you can go and play in the garden. So that often works and is really supportive for teachers and for parents when getting children to do activities that they don't really want to. If they know that there's something they can move on to after that's a preferred activity, then they're more likely to try and complete. So we call it that, doing the non-preferred activity, followed by then doing the preferred activity. And you just keep that in rotation.